Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions with Wrisley. He has just come out today, around a couple hours ago, and I've been playing with him for about 4 hours of testing him. I tested out different teams in the domain that I mainly did in the Vermilion domain, because I think this domain is actually a pretty good place to test out new teams, because the buff that you get from this doesn't really affect your damage at all, and the enemies that spawn are 3 mechs really, and you could just test out any team and see if your team comp actually works consistently, or to see if your elemental reactions work properly. So I did a lot of my testing there to see what kind of teams actually function good, with Wrisley being a main DPS. And I found some pretty interesting things with him. Now first, how do I first feel overall when playing with him for about 4 hours? And my initial reaction and feelings towards him is that he feels okay, I guess. He's similar to Wanderer. He can still do good damage. It's just that when you compare him to other CRYO units and also other TPS units that we currently have in the game, he falls a lot shorter than a lot of other characters, and part of that is that he's mainly focused on single target and not really much AoE. He does have some if like a lot of the enemies are grouped tight together and you use your charge attack on them, but is not really that effective. It is not really good in today's meta, where like a lot of the characters and a lot of the enemies you do face in Abyss, you do really want a lot of AoE, and since Novelette has come out and he's really good in AoE, I think it makes Wrisley feel out of place in today's meta. Still can do good damage, but like it's not really as useful in today's version of the game. The other thing that I've seen when testing him is that the teams that are kind of good with him, Hyperfridge is good. I mean, it's generically good overall. You just play Hyper Bloom with Freeze. Freeze teams are okay. They don't really increase his damage, but it is good if you want to do consistent damage without the enemies like moving away from you, which can be annoying. But the one thing that I found very interesting with one of his teams is Melt. Now Melt, in my pre-release I stated that I don't think they're gonna be good. I think they were gonna be annoying to do, and they kind of are, but if you can play the teams in a certain way with consistent timing, they can actually be pretty good. Now for Melt, I've seen that it really works better if you have an anemo character like mostly Kazuha or Sucrose. I mainly use Kazuha in my testing because I think Kazuha is a better anemo support in my opinion in terms of gameplay. But I've seen that like even though if you were to have one pyro character that can apply pyro, in terms of using Melt with Wrisley, I've seen it's better to use a second character that can apply pyro, in this instance using the anemo character to use their skills and abilities to apply pyro, and also sword cryo in the beginning of your rotation. Now in my rotations, I usually use Wrisley to apply cryo in the beginning with just one punch, switch to Kazuha, sword that, switch to Bennett, proc his burst, or switch to the second pyro character, use their burst, and then switch back to Kazuha to use his elemental burst to swirl pyro into his elemental burst, so that you can have a second way of applying pyro. Because what I've seen in utilizing melt teams with Wrisley is that you mainly get the melts if you time the charge attack when the swirl from Kazuha's burst or from Sucrose's burst to apply pyro, and then instantly get the melt with the charge attack. Now this can be annoying and kind of hard for a lot of people, because again it is very focused on the timing, because you can easily fuck it up. But if you're willing to get the timing down, you can actually get some pretty big hits from that. And these charge attacks aren't even the enhanced charge attacks. Yes, there could be some issues of consuming your stamina pretty largely, but if you were to get like 1 or 2 melts in, then that's a pretty good amount of damage if you were to combine that with your normal attack damage. So yeah, I think melt can be pretty good if again you were to use characters that can utilize pyro in a second way, mainly from an anemo character, but it can still be good if you have like a second character that can sometimes apply pyro, like using Xiangling with Toma. The next thing that I've seen when testing with him is the type of characters that are good with him. From my initial testing, I've seen that Genha is a really good support to use with him, considering that she does have pretty good timing with his skill cooldowns. Another character that I've seen is pretty good with him is Xiangling, because his shield is always really good, and considering that Wrisley doesn't really have resistance to interruption, he probably does, but like it's sometimes not really that good if you get hit like once. But nonetheless, his shield shred is always very good in my opinion. Another character that I'm about to say can be disagreed with some other people that would play Wrisley in a certain way, but from my initial testing, I personally don't like it at all, and that is using Bennett And now with using Bennett, he can consistently heal Wesley above 50%, but sometimes not, allowing him to go under 60 to get your enhanced charge attack. And when talking about his enhanced charge attack, I recommend you do not focus on his enhanced charge attack at all. I think it's pretty good to get that damage, but honestly, he consumes so much HP in his rotations that sometimes you don't have a healer, you can consistently be under 50%. And if you are under 50%, you are losing a lot of damage from your normal attacks. And that is very bad because the damage you gain from your charge attack, again, is pretty nice, but considering the overall damage you get from your enhanced normal attacks, it is much a greater loss compared to if you were to just go for your enhanced charge attack. And also, if you were to focus on your enhanced normal attacks and use Bennett with him, then the more overall damage you gain, then the enhanced charge attack you were to gain from that if you were to like utilize him without a healer just to get him under 60, but try to hit the sweet spot between 50 and 60%, which is just so very annoying to do as C0 compared to if you were to have him as C1, where in this case it feels like his C1 feels like a necessary component to make him feel very good and very consistent, which really sucks because it makes him feel more of an average character than he could have been. Because if you were to have his C1 at C0, then no doubt he could have been a much better character in my opinion. And that's very bad that they were to lock something behind a constellation that will make him overall a better character. It just sucks that they were to do that with Wesley, considering like the amount of flaws that are in his kit, considering in regards to his HP consumption. But yeah, I would say just focus on his normal attacks, don't really focus on his charge attack. You can sometimes get the enhanced charge attack when using Bennett, but one of the things from my testing that I realized that is preventing that is that his 5th hit animation has a delay before it hits, which prevents you from dealing the damage to lose more health for then Bennett to heal you over 60, preventing you from getting the enhanced charge attack. I feel like they designed that in a way to prevent that from happening, which sucks even more. But yeah, without C1, it kind of makes him feel a lot more average. Another thing that I saw from his testing is that the weapon choices between Lost Prayer and Toma Eternal Flow are kind of the same, depending on like the amount of stats that you have overall from your artifacts. If you don't have that much crit damage, then this weapon could be very good, but if you do have a lot of crit damage, then Eternal Flow can be a very good option as well. They're about the same, but normally this weapon deals a little bit more damage overall, but I would just say these weapons are pretty much the same level when it comes to overall damage. For other weapons, Kagura is just okay, I guess. Skyward is actually pretty nice. You can utilize this weapon if 1, you're not using Bennett, or 2, if you have a lot of crit damage already. I was thinking of going for his signature, but like for me, I typically go for weapons that I can use on other characters that can be useful. For example, Nevertheless signature, because it has the highest crit damage substat that you can get on a 5-star weapon, where I can use it on pretty much any other character, even though the passive may be a little bit more useless, but nonetheless the substat is nice. Moving on to his artifacts now. The other interesting thing that I found is that if you want him to deal the most overall damage he can possible, then you will mostly want to run the Shimanawa set. Now, the thing with the Shimanawa set compared to the Matachoshi set is that this set is much harder to farm in terms of substats, where compared to the Matachoshi, it gives you a lot of crit rate, allowing you to get just crit damage substats while also building other substats that can be very useful, like energy recharge, elemental mastery, or more attack percent. However, since Matachoshi has been out for around 2 years and it's in a domain with the emblem set, I would say the Shimanawa set is a much better set to farm for, because not only does it give you more overall damage for Wesley, but it's more easier to farm because you can farm it in a domain with the emblem set, which is also very good, but you can also farm it in the strong box as well for even more artifacts from this set. Now with Matachoshi, it's a very new set. You can only farm it in a domain paired with the skill damage set, which is not that useful for other characters. Then if you were to farm the second set like emblem that's paired with Shimanawa's, then it kind of gives more leverage of farming for the Shimanawa set than the Matachoshi set. But again, these are the main differences between the two sets. Here's the things that make these two sets better in their own way. Matachoshi is better in terms of building stats. It gives you a lot of crit rate for more consistency if you were to also get crit rate from your artifacts, and it also allows you to build more stats for certain substats like crit damage, EM, energy recharge, attack percent. And what makes Shimanawa's better in its own way is that it's easier to farm for because it's paired with the emblem set and is also in the strong box. And it gives you a really good passive with increasing your normal and charge attack damage by 50% for 10 seconds, which is the exact amount of time that his skill lasts, giving you the full duration of the buff. The only caveat is that it takes away energy from your elemental burst, but considering that he is very similar to Wanderer, his burst isn't really that effective. Is a nice source of damage, but you don't really have to utilize it, which kind of makes this set a very good choice for him, allowing him to deal more damage overall, where compared to the Matachosi set where it only gives you a lot of crit rate, which is also very good. But it only depends on what you prefer to farm for. If you want to farm for more consistency and a more easier way to build substats, then you would like to go the Matachosi set. But if you would like him to deal the maximum damage that he possibly can and a set that's more easier to farm for, then you can choose Shimenawa's. Now for me, I chose Shimenawa's because I prioritized him dealing the maximum damage that he could possibly can. Consistency is very nice, but considering that this set has been out for 2 years, I have really good Shimenawa's pieces that allows me, with me being at a good crit ratio with 80% crit rate, 253% crit damage, 121% energy recharge with 1855 attack. My talents that I use for his testing is that I leveled up his normal attack to level 10 because I wanted to crown him. I level 6 his skill and his elemental burst. I have him as Z0 because I was kind of considering it as Z1, but I wanted to test him as Z0 first just to see how really good he is as Z0 before I decided to go for C1. But yeah, my overall first impressions of him is that he is kinda okay. He's about average. If you want to call him mid, then you can totally fine. I don't think he's close to mid. He can still be a very good character, but like it depends on like what kind of teams they're using with him. And also if you were to compare him to other DPS characters, then yeah, he's kind of not that great, but still from my testing, I think he can be a nice option to have. All right, now I'm going to show you some gameplay that I took him to the Abyss to see how really good he can be in this current Abyss. Now when I played this Abyss, it is terrible because the first chamber first half boss is so stupid that like it's impossible for me to test him. So in that gameplay, I would just look at it as his normal damage because I didn't really focus on elemental reactions because I decided to run a melting with him for him to basically do the most damage that he can. And so yeah, enjoy the gameplay of me playing Wesley in floor 12 of the current Abyss.
Solidify. Go in. Come on. Let's light it up. Teamwork is dreamwork. Clouds high. The birds. What now? Order guide. Everybody stand back. Clouds high. The birds come. Into the wind. Order guide. This is order. Go in. Wind strike. Order guide. One with wind and cloud. The wind knows me. Let's begin.
Alright, and that's gonna do it with my first impressions of Wriothesley. Overall, he's okay. He's not really that great compared to other DPS characters, but I think he's a fine option. Mainly focused on single attack, not really much in AoE, not really good in today's current meta. Teams are what you really expected. Hyperfish is good, Freeze is okay, Melt can be good if you were to have precise timing. Don't focus on his charge attack, focus on his normals. Use Bennett with him because he feels so much better with Bennett. And yeah, that's gonna be my first impressions for Wriothesley. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, then definitely subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're interested in my post-release video that I will do on Wriothesley a week after his release, leave a like on the video to support it. Check out my Twitch if you want to catch my live streams over there. The link will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.